Hello, and welcome to Law and Order SVU here on FANVERSATION. I am your host, Yael Tygiel. As always, I'm joined by the wonderful Taylor Gates. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, first episode
Perfect.
of 2021. I love it.
Yes, I'm so excited. We are starting off the new year with a old episode and a newbie guest. Sergio Osuna is here. Hello, Sergio.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
So good. We are so excited to have you. For those who don't know, Sergio was on The Magicians. Sergio, you played Dolly on Legends of Tomorrow.
I did, with mustache and
Yes.
all. Yeah.
It was perfect. But also, Sergio is brand new to SVU, has seen under 10 episodes.
Under 10 episodes, yeah, brand new little baby eyes, and it's been a ride, and it's been great, and I'm super excited to be here.
I don't actually think Yael has seen any episode under 10 times. So that's very interesting.
That's not true. The new season, I've only seen every episode twice.
Okay,
Oh
we'll get there.
Give her time.
Yeah. Before we jump in, we are talking season 7, episode 1, Demons, a fan favorite episode. But I would like to remind everybody, if you are out there and need help, please reach out. Please feel free to call RAINN. Their number is 1-800-656-4673. Taylor, what does 4673 spell?
It spells hope, everyone.
That is correct. 1-800-656-4673. Also, sometimes SVU goes dark. This episode, kind of dark. And when that happens, we make light. So please be prepared. This is your content warning that sometimes we will make jokes that may not be appropriate for everyone. And if I had a dun-dun sound, I would play it now.
Dun dun.
Dun.
We'll be your dun dun sound.
Thank you. It was perfect. Season 7, episode 1, Demons. I know fans love this episode. Taylor, what did you think of this episode as someone who's seen it before?
Yeah, I haven't seen this one in a while, I'll be honest. And I am so glad that we revisited it because it's such a strong episode and it's such a good season premiere. Like, obviously, I wasn't watching it when season 7 was like premiering, but if this was like my premiere episode, I'd been like, okay, this is a promising season because this is like, I love ones that kind of break the mold a little bit and don't follow the exact formula. And this one definitely kind of shook things up, and really, really amazing performance by Mr. Elliot Stabler, so Mr. Chris Maloney. So I really liked it and so glad that I revisited it for the show.
Awesome. Sergio, first time seeing it, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. I did not know. I didn't read the description or anything, so I did not know what it was going to be about. Also, not only being the first time that I've seen this episode, but it's my first episode with Christopher in it. I've never seen him in this, so I didn't know his character at all, and I was blown away by him. And there's a specific. I mean, I guess we'll break it down eventually, but a specific moment in one of the meetings that he had. That it was so dark and really good. So having not seen him or not known his character, I don't know where to go from here. Like, I don't know what he's got and what it. Yeah, it's good.
I think
it was really good.
Right. I think this is a surprisingly kind of good intro to his character, to be honest, because I feel like it kind of brings out a lot of the really strong like character elements where he's kind of aggressive and he really follows his gut and doesn't necessarily play by the rules and is kind of impulsive. So I think you'll definitely see more of that when you keep watching his episodes. And so I think this is actually kind of a cool one to be introduced to him too.
Yeah, the character seems very flawed, but very real at the same time. Yeah. So, and the final shot of it it just left me with a lot of questions specifically about him and his character. But yeah,
I'm so excited. It didn't occur to me you hadn't met Stabler yet.
I hadn't known.
So funny. I also, hadn't occurred to me, I forgot to read our quick cap. So for those who don't know which episode we're talking about for some reason, Demons, Detective Sleevler goes undercover to determine if a recent parolee is reverting to his rapist urges. I also would like, that's the one on IMDb, but I have to read a wonderful person on Twitter whose name I definitely don't know how to say. So I'm just going to spell their username. It is FUAIMEANNA. Yep.
Nailed it.
Thanks. Sent me a picture of the description on the DVDs. So this one says, after 21 years, a sex offender is released from jail, and the retired officer who initially locked him up begs Detective Benson and Stabler to follow the ex-convict and put him away for good. I think that is a better description.
Yeah.
It's a more detailed one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to know, we love when they go undercover. How did you feel? I mean, you don't know the character, so maybe it's less exciting when he's undercover. But Sergio, what did you think of the undercoverness?
I thought that it was good, and it was it spoke to the way that he is as a character, like the character. It let us know, because nobody knew that he was going to do it. And he just did it. He just went for it, and that sort of gave it a little bit of comedy to it in my eyes. And yeah, he doesn't play by the rules, and that was very evident in that way. And I loved it. I thought that even though it's not, I don't know if it's something that they do often to go undercover, it was really good. It was funny.
I agree that I love it when it's like a spontaneous, we're not telling anyone we're going undercover, because I agree, it adds like comedy and also some tension, because like poor Kragan, like they gave him so much chaos to try to wrangle in when Ellie and Olivia were together, especially. I also like it when it's like a prolonged undercover, because we have some episodes that they go undercover for like a scene or like, a fourth of the episode. And so the fact this was like an entire episode, I really liked, or almost the entire episode. And it just reminds me of when Olivia goes undercover for like multiple episodes with the whole wildlife thing. Like that was like a long arc where she was under, and that's one of my favorites. So I like it when they actually like really get to sink their teeth into like a character.
Yeah. Sergio, you're not allowed to watch her go undercover until you finish season 1.
I want to see it.
It's so good. It's worth the wait.
I mean, honestly, her entire undercover arc with the eco-terrorist is phenomenal. And you can't get there. You're not allowed. Season 1. You got to start at the beginning. At least just see season 1. Like, just so that you know who everyone is.
Okay.
Anyway, let's get back to this episode. I loved this episode for many years. And I know a lot of fans love this episode, especially Stabler fans love this episode. And I have recently been, with the current situation of the world, discussing police tactics. I had been very hesitant to go back to this because I was like, oh, it might not hold up at all. It might be terrible. Yes, there are problematic issues. And it's part of, I believe this was during the like seasons of the show trying to like really give Stabler an anger management issue. And that came through, especially in that scene with the support group leader who says to him, like, you get madder than most people when you're not in charge, which I was like, that's 12 years of the show is what you described. But I read, as I was prepping for today, and I read a review of somebody who hated this episode, which I found fascinating. And I think the biggest issue that they had was the fact that they kind of entrapped their character.
Yeah, I thought that was such an interesting thing that they explored. And I'm glad that they actually did touch on that, Craig, and was like, well, is it right for us to be trying to kind of like bait him into this situation? And I think that's a really interesting kind of like morality issue about, are they actually preventing him from doing it again? Or are they, like they said, like putting a bottle of alcohol on someone who's been sober for like 2 weeks? So I thought that was really interesting. I'm glad that they kind of brought it up and sort of grappled with it a little bit.
Yes, I think that it is a morality issue. It's sort of like the same way that, To Catch a Predator and that sort of series there was before. Is it um, okay to create a scenario for someone to come into it and then do something wrong? I don't know. I mean, the whole thing, what you just said about like giving someone like who's dealing with alcohol issues a bottle of something, but then to do it repeatedly and to do it aggressively and to do it
Mhm.
in a way that setting them up for failure, is that morally right, morally wrong, if for the greater good of the benefit of society? You never know. On the other hand, this guy was in jail for 21 years. So this is what the criminal system is supposed to do. You're supposed to rehabilitate, using air
Right.
quotes here. You're supposed to rehabilitate someone so they don't repeat the thing that they were in prison for. I don't know. It's such a layered issue.
It's funny because when Schenkel doesn't take the bait with the girl standing in front of the window, which we'll talk about in a second because I have a lot of issues. Um, when he doesn't take the bait and Kragan's like, we dangled bait and he said he didn't do anything, like, that's it. I think at that moment, had Mac and the van disappeared from his life, maybe he would not have pursued it, because up until that point he had been fighting it. He explained how much he cared for his freedom, and in group he said to that guy later that night, like, you give us hope that I can fight this. So like it he could have, for all we know, if Elliot wasn't there, he could have gone clean.
He could have, yes, he could have. However, I think that when you're dealing with issue, I would never compare alcoholism with someone who's raped someone or been violent. It's completely different issues, but life has a way to put you in those situations where there's a perfect storm and there's perfect everything around you just lines up perfectly for you to make the decision. And you always have, that's the beauty of being a human being. You have the ability to make a decision to do something good or to do something bad. There's always a moment. And if he hadn't presented him with this a perfect scenario, maybe someone else would have down the road. Yeah, that's all.
No, that's a fair point. And I think it's really interesting the way that they do discuss these addictions in different ways. And that there are some, dealing with recovery is sometimes similar and sometimes different, but also every person is different. I want to shift a little bit less seriously towards the young girls that they are using in this episode, because I went to find them on IMDb and not a single one of those brunettes are brunette. They are all blondes, which is hilarious, especially because his type is petite brunettes. And I want to talk about the moment at the window where she's standing there with a man hovering, and the girl in the bus who he leans over and she just looks straight forward. As a woman, when a man that I do not know is that close to me, at no point have I just been like, I'm going to pretend he's not there.
Yeah,
That's
everyone's acting. Everyone's acting. He's like a ghost or something. I'm like, you can feel his breath on you right now. Like, I know that you're just not ignoring this. Like, it's not like he's right there. Like, you can't not be aware of that.
Yes.
I feel like he should have known she was a trap when he stood on her and she did nothing.
He just blinks,
Yes.
keeps looking at the clothes.
And don't get me started about the clothes. That outfit was hideous, for one.
Yeah,
And two,
like the plaid skirt was just
if
such an obvious
if anything, that would have given him, him like, why is she looking at this hideous outfit? No, no, that's, aboard. But anyway, yes, and then she could see his reflection in the mirror, and
Right.
he could see that she was looking at the reflection. There was like this whole thing, especially in New York. I mean, I'm Mexican and I used to live in Mexico City, and if somebody stands like, I don't know, 2 feet away from you. We're like, who is this guy? You're like, get away from me.
Right.
Like, yeah.
At
Yeah.
some point, I expected her to be like, "Can I help you?"
Can I help you? Yeah.
Something, anything. Just like,
Absolutely zero
excuse
social
me.
distancing going on. Yeah,
They all have it. They all have it now.
they all have it now. There's no mask, not a mask in sight.
Yeah.
I want to also talk about the victim who was assaulted at the beginning of the episode, which got us to Schenkel to begin with. Who raped her? Because we don't know.
I was gonna bring that up too, and I was like, did we find out? And I just forgot. No, we don't ever hear from her again, and we don't really hear from Dorsey again either. They just disappear.
Yeah.
I
Bye.
think when Cragen points out, he's like, you have tunnel vision for this guy. So does Dorsey. Like, you're focusing. We got to look at all the options, and then they don't.
They just don't care anymore. They just let it go.
And then you guys have seen the entire series. So do they come back to this or no? Like, do they? No.
Oh no.
Like they
You gotta-
never.
no.
Always
They never
expect
find
that they
out who.
come back to things.
Okay.
Expect that there's gonna be no continuity, so you're not disappointed.
Oh, okay.
And then when it happens, it's so surprising.
Amazing. We're like, what? They brought it back to that.
You know
There
what? Maybe this
A
season.
No.
There was a season where there was something, I think it was the push-in rapist. It's mentioned in like 20 episodes. And I was like, what is that? When did we deal with that? And then it comes back into an episode and actually there's a story. But they mention it a few times. So like that you'll find and you'll be like, what a pleasant surprise. But generally expect that none of it ties together.
And also, they'll reference things that just didn't happen. Like, instead of actually referencing a past case, they'll just be like, oh, yeah, remember the guy who did? And we're like, no, that never actually happened. You had over 300 things that you could have actually referenced, and yet you just pulled it out of thin air. Like, that also happens a lot.
That also happens. I want to also talk about the group therapy thing. How did we feel about these scenes and hearing Stabler describing this story? I'll start with you, Taylor, as someone who knows Stabler well.
I thought it was just so interesting to see him like that, honestly. And this is kind of a complete like 180 of him, because he would never talk like that. So it's like interesting to see him have to like go into that role. And I really like that we got to see Huang kind of prep him too and be like, okay, do you actually know how to like trick these people? Because it's not just this, like they know how to read people. And so the fact that he has to really dig deep and kind of like get into this weird mindset that I'm sure is not comfortable to get into, and like trick all these other people in the group and even trick like the group therapist, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, why can he not be in on it? Is that like a thing that can't happen, I guess? But I thought that was really, I loved especially that Huang got to like sort of prep him about it. I thought that was a really cool scene and way to kind of set it up.
You also don't know who Dr. Wong is, Sergio.
No, I know him. I know the actor, but I mean, not personally, but I know. Yeah, I've never met him before.
Right.
I think that the group therapy session was very interesting because having not seen this character before, Elliot, to me, I thought, okay, if he doesn't come from if the character doesn't come from like an improv background, everything's like coming so easily to him. Like this scenario that he's describing, okay, that's okay. I'm making a mental note that okay, he's thought about this before. And he did it in such a easy way. I mean, that speaks to Christopher's ability, acting and talent and everything. He was so good in it. And it just seemed very real. And I think that I thought the same way about the therapist. Like, how can he not be in it? But I think it's ethically, I don't think you can do it. Just if it's a group therapy, it's supposed to help people and rehab people after, like you can be like setting them up, I would think. But yeah, no, I thought that was it seemed like a very real scene.
I was thinking this time watching it, how if Chris Maloney didn't get the role of Stabler, I 100% would want him to want to see him as a perp, because that, like, him telling that story was so unsettling, and sounds like the perps that we've seen on the show. And so I kind of, at one point I was like, oh, it would have been really interesting if he had literally just taken a story from a case that we had seen. That would have been really fun, like a cute little nod, but instead it was just a very unsettling story. And I also thought about the therapist, but I think the therapist would probably be like, no, you can't be in my group. Especially because Stabler even points out, like, it's not confidential because it all has to be reported back to the POs, but still, like, I think that he would have been able to be like, no. But also, I know when you're undercover, like, the least amount of people in on it, the better, because a therapist could mess it up,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
no, that's super true too.
Yeah.
Sergio, did you have any other plot points that you noted that you wanted to talk about?
I have favorite moments, and I have some unsettling moments that might have, made me go, wow. But no, I think, yeah, I think we can bring them up in a little bit with you guys, because I know that
Okay.
you talk about like favorite maybe lines and stuff, and I have one. Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about the girl at the end that they take to the factory, because that scene is with the girl there is super intense. After that, I feel like it's meh. But like Stabler, helping her out of the van. I love the way he throws her over his shoulder, and then he's careful when he puts her down, which I feel like Schenkel should have been like, you could have just thrown her. You were very careful.
I think he was like, I don't think he was like the most rough, and I don't think he was that gentle either. Like, she bounced a little. I was like, oh, because I think he played it well, honestly, because he didn't like hurt her when he was doing it, but I think he was convincing enough, because I looked for that too. I was like, if he just lays her down like it's over, he's gonna know that this is like not a real perp. But I think he was like just aggressive enough, if that makes sense. Like, it convinced him.
Okay.
I don't know. I looked for that specifically.
I didn't know what he was going to do. I didn't know what he was going to come up with, like the excuse to not, do it right in front of him. But that was really good. Again, improv background.
Yeah, you have to think so fast. I know I could never do it, because I can't think that fast in my real life when nothing hinges on it. So like, I would be terrible at being undercover.
No, which is good. Yes, and just keep going and going.
Are you an undercover cop right now?
Yes, and
good improvisers. So for those who somehow didn't notice, Schenkel is played by Robert Patrick, whom you may know as Terminator, not Schwarzenegger, obviously. And he also was on X-Files. He's very big in the sci-fi world. So to see him not
good.
to see him not sci-fi was surprising for me.
Like, even his body language, I was like, oh, he's I don't know, he was so convincing in this role. It was like freaking me out from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love about his performance here is that he takes his voice very like soft-spokenly. Like, he's very quiet, which is creepy. But like, there's an intensity to the quietness, which is it's like surprising and unnerving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he also manages, I think, to plant like a seed of doubt. Like, when he is like, no, man, like, I value my freedom too much. I'm like, oh, maybe he's not gonna do it, or like maybe he actually is reform. Like, it kept me guessing, which was great, because I feel like if you could have played it really extreme, and it would have been like, oh yeah, this guy's obviously just awful and is the same and is gonna do exactly what he did. But I feel like I was like, ooh, I was kind of guessing along with them.
Yeah, he played the internal struggle very, very well, because you could see it that he was struggling with himself to make the right decision, I think.
I really want to know, as an actor, what he decided, whether he was like, yes, he raped the girl or not. Like, I want to know where he was coming from. We thank you for Daryl Lee in the chat reminding us that he was also on Scorpion. That's true. Another sci-fi show. Yes, he's done a lot. So it was really exciting to see him as a guest star. I wonder if this was a milestone episode. Because it was. Yes.
Also, from the get-go, I totally just remember something. When right from the get-go in the episode, when he gets out of jail and then he gets on the bus and then, he's looking for where to sit. And then he finds this little girl, brunette, I think. And then,
Yep.
can I sit here? And then the way that he looks at the guy, who's
Dorsey.
yeah, and then puts his arm sort of around the seat from the get-go, it's creepy, and you kind of think like, okay, he hasn't been reformed. And then the next thing you know is another little girl has been raped. So that's so he was really good, very, very good.
Yeah. Especially with that scene at the end, like that monologue about how, like, oh, we're brothers under the skin, like everyone thinks this way, I'm just acting out. Like, I was like, oh, this is like total bullshit. Like, I don't believe any of this. Like, I understand like there's a culture around it, but like, you're just awful, you're a scumbag. But like, he felt like he believed what he was saying. It was like kind of getting to Elliot like under his skin a little bit. Like, I think that was just such a well delivered speech of his.
Yeah,
I agree. I want to talk about at the end, when Elliot lets the girl out, helps her get out. I love the part where he explains to her the step. He's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I got you. Like, I loved that. But once he gets her out and he's stuck there, and Schenkel has the gun on him, and he goes, I'm a cop. And I went, he's still gonna shoot you. Like, so what? At this point, he's going back to prison. You know what I mean? Like, then he'll shoot a cop. At this point, it's too late to be like, don't shoot him, a cop. No, it's not.
Right. No one cares. No one asked. Like,
yeah.
Okay, let's move it along to our best lines. Taylor, you are the queen of the lines. What do you have?
Okay, I have 3. And then I just wanted to mention, I absolutely loved like how they decked out the van with like the GPS and like the hidden gun. If you like did the signal and the air conditioner, I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wish we always had more of these little like hidden things. I thought that was so fun. But in terms of lines,
I changed my mind. You shouldn't go first. Sergio, favorite line.
I'll be quiet.
To speak about the little decked out of the van too, I thought that was so funny. I don't know. I didn't check what was the year this aired.
Season 7. It would have been like 2007 or 2006.
I'm gonna pull it up, but go ahead.
Okay, so it's not that. I mean, it's a little far away, but I thought that, for example, that they said. They showed the GPS, and the GPS is like
2005.
Huge. Okay. 2005. It's huge.
Yeah.
And we decked it out with this GPS. It's like 5 pounds, and then we put it underneath. And now everything would be like, oh, do they just track its phone?
We're gonna put it in your ear, like it's like this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was funny.
That reminds me of the live feed. He's like, oh, is it a live feed? And he goes, no, but it's dumped to a server. So then how is this useless?
I don't know.
The camera and audio is recording, but we can't watch it live. That's useless.
Yeah, what's the point? Okay.
All right, back to lines.
The funny line that I thought, it was just a one line, but it came with the reaction, and it was the parole officer when he comes out of the office, and he obviously knows Elliot. And then, the first thing that I think he just calls it McAvoy, and then he's like, yeah, I guess I'm McAvoy. That's my name now. And then he goes in and is like, McAvoy, like, what are you talking? Yeah, I thought that was funny, but it was with the look and the line, just all of a sudden, again, improv.
I totally agree. I think that is such a great part because he's like, "Where'd you get McAvoy?" And he
Yeah.
goes, "What did you like? No, you can't be mad at him. You sprung this on him, and he came up with a name.
Yeah.
Like he did his job."
I loved that whole scene with the parole officer. Honestly, that was such a fun one.
Is he a recurring character?
I don't think
No?
so,
I
but
think
he
we've
should be.
seen him- I think we've seen the actor as a cop
Mhm.
in a different part. I feel like I don't remember if he's the same cop, but there's definitely a cop in a scene where a prostitute has been murdered and the cop is like super callous about it and is like, whatever, no one was hurt. And Benson is like, what do you mean no one was hurt? And he's like, she's nothing. And I think it's the same actor, but I don't recall.
Oh, really?
I'll find that episode for you. Don't worry.
That's the thing. I mean, it speaks to the greatness of the show that every character that you introduce, and it's you know, it doesn't matter if it's a one episode or one scene or whatever, they look like they could be recurring or they look like they have a background, and that's great. Sorry.
That's so true.
Yeah.
No,
we always we're big fans of like bring them back. Like we're always saying that like at least once an episode. Yael and I are like, okay, so bring them back next episode and make them like a series regular. Like we want so many people on the show to appear in every episode.
That's true. I think if we made this show, it would have way too many characters.
A cast of 150 series regulars.
Yeah. And what's the budget for your show? $1 billion. Thank you.
Exactly. Unlimited funds.
Yeah. I also want to talk about, I forgot the entire scene when Finn comes in and is harassing Schenkel because he needs to get Stabler out. I love when he's like arresting him and he's like, Wong wants to talk to you. I find that so funny.
I love that whole thing too, that we got to see Elliot like try to fight him, even though it was like obviously all pretend. It's always fun when they're like pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Finn's also great undercover. Yes,
Finn is really fun undercover. What were your favorite lines, Taylor? Now I'll let you speak.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the permission. It was so crass, but the fact that they called his van the Rape Mobile, I was just like, why would you say this? Like, that's not okay. But the fact that you said it, I think we should mention. I also love what kind of person would do this the day they get out of prison. You, Ray. Her just screaming, you, Ray. It was so good. And then finally, I mean, we can't not mention it when he says it's the sexual interest test, and he immediately goes, oh, the Peter meter. We just had to bring that up. So those are mine. Those are my standouts.
I love that. I love that because Peter meter is going to come up again during our
show. It should, as it must.
I did really appreciate the moment when, speaking of the Peter meter, when Stabler realizes that Wong actually has valuable information. And he you see him be like, oh, I don't know everything. I should shut up. I like that part too.
Which happens all the time. No one gives Wong enough credit ever is the thing.
Yeah. I would also say Stabler does not like other people's input.
That's also very correct and very fair.
Yeah. So this episode was not ripped from any headlines, which is okay.
He had also ripped from probably all the headlines. This was a very general case, I feel like.
Yeah.
That's true. That's fair. But I do have something I want to share with everybody that is a fun thing from the internet that is generally SVU related. So let's see if I can do this. And if you all can get the audio, that would be wonderful. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can hear it. This is a clip from, I believe, from Homicide with Munch, who was not in this episode. So Sergio may not know who he is.
I know him.
And okay. And this aired in 94. Hopefully you can hear it. We'll find out. Can you hear it?
I cannot.
No,
oh, okay.
It's very, very low.
All right. Well, then I will not share this. I will tweet it out.
Okay, I'm excited now. Now I'm very curious.
So the clip is the guy who was standing there was shouting for them to change the channel, and Munch goes on a long rant about how in the future there will be 1 billion channels. There will be more than just a sports channel. There'll be a dog food channel, and then we won't be doing any, mail. We'll be sending emails, and we'll be talking, and there'll be virtual reality. It was in '94. He predicted almost everything.
No. Oh my
That's
God.
so Raven.
So I'm going to share that on Twitter, and we'll tell you where to find that in just a bit. That's the only fun, exciting SVU stuff I have.
That's
to
crazy.
share.
I love when things like that happen. And did he say, in the future people will be wearing face masks and
He didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
No.
Not in that episode, but if we dig a little deeper, maybe. Because honestly, he's
Probably.
spewed some interesting theories that I would not be surprised if one of them corresponded to the situation we're in now.
All right, Taylor, every week we do a very fun poll here on the show. Taylor, tell us about the poll.
Absolutely. So last time we were chit-chatting, I think we talked about Remember Me in Quarantine. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay, great. I was second guessing myself there. It's been a second, but we asked favorite roommate from Hell episode, which is just absolutely one of the best conversations we could ever have. These are some great episodes, just so you are aware. In last place, we have Class, sadly, which is season 7, episode 17. In third place, we have Theater Tricks, which is kind of insulting because Theater Tricks is wonderful.
Place?
In third place, season 13, episode 11. But second place, I'm happy with second place, Hot House, season 10, episode 12. I freaking love Hot House, as you know. And then in first place was Remember Me in Quarantine, which was a great episode with sexy lockdown Lexi.
Oh, that's right.
And this week, we are discussing your favorite episode that ends without a verdict. So we have Doubt, which is season 6, episode 8. And I think that's probably the most famous one that ends without a verdict. Yael, do you want to brief us on that one?
Okay, so Doubt is one of the best episodes. It is an episode where we have an art student and her art professor, and she says that he raped her, and he says, hey, she's going to say that I raped her. And then we go through the whole process, and in the end, we do not hear the verdict, and we have no idea whether he raped her or not.
Oh
Sergio, I know you want to see this.
It's so
Oh my
frustrating.
God. How did you move on from it if you don't see the resolution?
Oh, I was so mad the first time it aired, and every time I've seen it since then, I love it. And honestly, my opinion changes onto whether he did it or not every time I watch it.
I think
it's like that movie with Viola Davis and it's Meryl Streep, right?
Yeah, and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Amy Adams. You never find out, what happened. It's just the purpose of it all is to plant the seed of doubt in your mind.
That's such a crazy episode. It was so obviously I didn't watch it live, but I imagine people were up in arms, angry that there was no resolution to that. But that's
funny because I watched all except for season 1, I watched every episode live. But Twitter wasn't a thing. So I don't know how people felt.
Right.
I feel like if we go to chat boards or whatever from back then, people would have been angry. We also have Demons, which we just talked about. We have Dis, which is season 20, episode 22. Yael, what happened in Dis?
Dis is the one where Snoop Dogg guest stars. Yep. And it is about the rapper feud. And in the end, we do not know. We know what happened, but without spoiling it for Sergio, they choose not to follow up, I guess.
Yes. And then for our last option, we have Down Low in Hell's Kitchen, which is season 21, episode 3. That's the Jussie Smollett case, correct?
Yes, it is the Jussie Smollett case. And in the end, I think Finn says to him, something happened to you. But we don't know what.
Yeah. So
they cover that case?
Mouth is open.
They cover
that case.
They cover every case.
They were inspired by. Let's be clear. They were
Right. And inspired by, allegedly.
loosely.
Yes.
If it's in the news, they probably covered it, to be quite honest. They ripped
Wow.
a lot of headline episodes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, just because it was said, I'm going to bring it up. SVU, sponsored by Theater Tricks.
Absolutely. Such a good episode. One of our universal favorites here at Law and Order SVU.
Yes. Amazing. We'll tell you where to find that poll in just a bit. I can't believe Theater Tricks didn't win last week. Sergio, what is the next episode you are intending to watch?
I think I have to start from the beginning. I have to start from season 1.
That is
Payback.
Payback, season 1, episode 1.
I just have to get to know the characters a little bit more, so everything sort of makes sense, and that I'm not just thinking random thoughts about them and who they are.
I love that. We have this new segment we started this year called "What Did We Learn?" I'll start with what I learned. I learned that a Peter meter usually uses a penile cuff. That is what I learned this week.
Yep, you took mine, but I guess I will say, since you already stole that one, I'm going to say if you need the gun, turn on the air conditioning and the left turn signal. And there she goes.
And preset 5.
Yeah, sorry, something like that. I just knew there's a lot of buttons. If you need the gun, do the tricks.
Sergio, what did you learn?
Mine is a little bit darker.
Go for it.
And speaks to us as a society, that we learn that, or at least I learned how sexualized we are as a society and how normal that is. And it's slightly sad, because, people that are as Ray, the character Ray, explained, when you get out and you're recovering from this, or and you see everything, all the sexualization, is that a word, of little girls and of women and stuff, how you're set up for failure as well. But and how
absolutely
screwed up that is.
That's actually really true.
That is a very true fact. And I feel like there are plenty of episodes that touch on this and discuss how sexualized, especially little girls are. I think literally the other night I was watching an episode, knowing me, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I accidentally stayed up, and there's an episode, I believe it's in season 4, which talks about beauty pageants and what that does to little girls. And if you start now, Sergio, you can get there within a month. You could get to season 4.
A month?
Yeah, it's a season a week.
Next week. Come on, let's set a better goal than that. They're right next week.
You can do a season a week. It's easy. Yes. All right. Any final thoughts on season 7, episode 1, Demons? I didn't realize this was a season premiere until I looked up the number for today's episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that was a really strong episode, and send them undercover more. It's always fun for me to see them undercover.
Sergio, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts is that Elliot, I have a big question mark right after this episode. Like, who are you? What kind of person are you? And I think that the name of the episode lured us to think that we're talking about the demons of the actual of Ray, of the person who raped someone, but it left me thinking of Elliot's demons at the end.
Ooh, that's a really good
that's so
thing to take
fun.
away. And also, now that I think about it, I get that.
I've always thought this episode was about Elliot's demons.
Oh, really?
I've always been like, oh, this is called Demons because it brings up Elliot's anger issues and his demons.
Right.
I thought
It's
everyone thought
both,
that.
I think. Well, I think it's both.
Right.
It's like a dual title. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Always.
I love
Yeah.
that. It's very
Thank you, Sergio.
observation.
Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. We hope to have you on more, especially as you start watching more episodes. Everyone can find you at at Osuna_Sergio, correct?
Yes, with an S. Thank you so much for having me. This was fun from the second I pressed play.
Oh, I'm so glad. Taylor, where can everyone keep up with you?
Yes, you can find me and the poll on Twitter at alphabet_Ann, and you can find me on Instagram at Taylor_Gates_.
I am everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I will also be retweeting that video from '94 from Homicide with Munch in it. If you want to check that out. Also, we will be back with new episodes as soon as new episodes return. I also want to make sure, again, if you need help, please reach out to the RAINN Hotline, 1-800-656-4673, 1-800-656-4673. Reach out, get help, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.